30 Odd Minutes is sponsored in part by Digital Dowsing. Who are you powered by?
For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard. We will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes, live from the mothership. We've set her down here in the woods because tonight we're looking for cryptids, strange, unusual animals, stuff of legend, but also stuff that might be out there lurking among us right now. Of course, want to say hello to Matt and Andrew in the control center. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Howdy, Jeff.
Good, good. You guys check out the woods around us?
Yeah, it looks kind of squatchy, if you ask me.
Very squatchy.
Very squatchy. Nice adjective, nice adjective. Anything new this week?
Yeah, I would like to welcome the oddballs watching us on Public TV in New Mexico. And we'd also like to let you guys know that those strange streaking lights at night ain't military aircraft. It's us, folks.
Nice. Thank
Buzzing you out there in New Mexico.
Thank you, New Mexico. Right on. Awesome. All right, cool. Anything else going on? Matt, what's up? Any investigations happening?
I got a few that I'm working on. A couple of UFO sightings right here in Boston. I had my own little experience in Wareham earlier this week.
Really?
And,
what happened?
Well, I was going to pick up my truck and looked out over the water, a very large, bright light over the water. And then later on, the following day, I find a really nice daytime disc of an object floating over a couple of buildings in Boston that somebody recorded and put up on YouTube. You know,
I saw it. It was pretty wild.
Right around the same time. So, yeah, definitely an interesting past couple of days.
Andrew, did you have the keys to the mothership that day?
No, it wasn't me. But I'll also add in that some friends of mine down in Rhode Island have reported seeing some orange lights in the sky that just had no sound and didn't behave like aircraft. And I'm one of them.
Oh, very cool.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Well, we have an email, and it pertains to one of our past shows.
Missions,
yes, sorry. So, my name is Jasmine, and I watched your interview about the Dybbuk box. Prior to the interview, I read that the rabbis were urging people to take the pictures down off eBay because the pictures alone can cause stuff. Silly, right? No, because I watched your interview and you had the real image of the box up on last night. My house was chaotic. Please tell people not to look at the picture. Signed, Jasmine.
Yeah, watching 30 Odd Minutes, folks, can get you.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Our show is dangerous.
Watch out for the Dybbuk.
That's so cool. Isn't that cool? All right, here's the amazing thing. That episode, that we did so long ago, it has been seen on YouTube a lot, like 1,000 times a day at this point, because the Hollywood movie finally came out. And so everyone's abuzz about the Dybbuk box. Now, that episode's been seen tons of times over the past year, but now a legend is born because someone says she watched the mission and strange things are happening in her house because she even saw it. So isn't that incredible how legends are born around something as simple as a video clip, which is exactly the kind of things we were talking about in last week's mission and exactly the kind of things we're going to be talking about tonight to a different extent. But it's amazing what happens when the power of story takes over. Story turns something that's normal and everyday into something bigger, into something we call a legend. Think about it. All over the world, there are plants and animals that have either never been documented or were thought to be extinct but turn up again. Some are creatures of legend like sea monsters and Bigfoot and Mothman, and other are cryptids. Tonight we're going to hear from some eyewitnesses of some of these strange creatures. Plus, we have one witness with a thermal video of Bigfoot that you don't want to miss. Get ready to hunt some cryptids on tonight's 30 Odd Minutes mission. And before we start, I think we have to go to the field of cryptozoology and talk about the coelacanth. Matt, tell us about this incredible fish.
The coelacanth was thought to have gone extinct about 65 million years ago.
Right.
And it was found still alive on the end of a fisherman's line in the 1930s off the coast of Madagascar.
Right.
To this day, they actually pull out about 4 live coelacanths a year, still living every year off of the straits between Madagascar and South America.
Right, and we just saw an image. That's one in the water, alive and well, and incredible. So this thing was thought to be gone for 65 million years, and it turns up again. And what we thought we knew about the world is no more. And that's kind of the nature of cryptozoology. Cryptozoologists, Matt, right, are talking about creatures. We just either haven't documented them, or
the
we
study
thought they
of
were gone.
undocumented or unknown animals. That is the field of cryptozoology. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily mythical or anything, although certain mythical animals can turn out to be legitimate and real animals after they get finally documented. But it is an actual form of study.
Right, like Bigfoot. Bigfoot, I think, is the quintessential cryptid, right?
Yeah, it's the quintessential hominid.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay. But there are other creatures. Bigfoot is not alone by any means. I want to bring in our first guest. Oh, excuse me. Oof. Just had a cryptid in my throat. Sorry. It's disgusting. I want to bring up our first guest tonight, beaming to us live from Fort Bennings, Georgia. Please welcome Brandon Parker.
Yeah, Brandon.
Brandon, thank you for joining us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Take us back. Talk to us. What did you experience there at Fort Bennings?
Okay, well, here about three and a half weeks ago, I was running late to a morning formation PT, and so I decided to go ahead and park about 1.5 miles out and go ahead and run up to my troop. Well, about 1 mile into my run, I noticed a hog sitting on the side of the road, so I decided to go ahead and wait it out at a safe distance and, wait till it, scampered off. Well, anyway, after sitting there watching it for about three and a half minutes, I started noticing a couple of oddities about this thing. For one, the first thing I looked at really was its tail. Its tail was like, it was really long and really bushy, almost dragging the ground. The second thing I noticed was that its chest was like a bodybuilder, like really, really big. It stood up probably about as high as a Great Dane. And what really got me about this thing was that its face. It looked like a dog, essentially, but it had the hog ears. It had hog characteristics, skinny and tall. Now, it just really freaked me out for a moment. I looked at it, and then it looked at me. It took a step forward. I said, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with this. I'm out. So as I turned around to run, to go back the opposite direction, it looked off too. Anyway, after I told my wife about what I saw that morning, she kind of looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, "What are you looking at me like that for?" She goes, "I cannot believe it, but what you just described to me was the Georgia Wog."
Right.
Now I've never heard of anything like this before. I knew all the mainstream cryptids like Bigfoot and Essie stuff like that, but it just blew my mind. And then that picture that you're showing right there,
yep,
it looked. Actually, the picture there doesn't even really do it justice, but that is as close as I could tell.
Right.
I'm actually trying to draw one up myself of what exactly I seen, but that is almost spot on, exactly what I saw.
Very cool. Brandon, our Matt here has a question for you. Matt, what's up?
Well, it's not so much a question as it might be something he may want to look up. There was a creature that was shot in Montana or that general area in the 1800s, and it's taxidermy, and it's I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it looked exactly like that. It had the tall front end like a big husky wolf, and the back end like a hyena, and it's similar to like what he's saying. It would have a hog stance, and if I can look it up, I'll try and email it to him, see if it's like what he saw.
Absolutely. Now, Brandon, tell us something. How long have you lived in that area?
Well, I've been stationed here at Fort Benning for about 4.5 years now, and I still got about another year left here. So, and I've been hunting plenty enough down here, and I've never seen something like that.
See, that's the part that's so interesting to me. You know, I tell people when we're talking about cryptozoology, think about where you live. I've lived in my area for 10 years, and I know every critter that's walked through, you know, my backyard. Deer, coyote, groundhog, skunk, you know, birds. We know what belongs there. And so you know when something looks way out of place. Now, the Georgia Wog, this is interesting, right? It's not something that Brandon's just making up. That photo was on the internet, and it turned up in a book called The Early History of Jackson County, Georgia, which was published in 1914. So we're talking about, you know, almost a century ago. A local historian wrote about the creature. The Wog was said to be jet black, long-haired animal about the size of a small horse, but his legs were much shorter, the front ones being some 12 inches longer than the hind. It gave some appearance of like a huge dog sitting on its tail, and when it walked, it seemed to require him to carry forward on one side at a time. His tail was very large, and at the end there was a bunch of entirely white hair, at least 8 inches long, and larger in diameter than the tail itself. Very much like what you described. Isn't that amazing? You see this thing, you think maybe you're nuts, and then you find out it's been described before. What's that moment like?
Well, whenever I saw it, I was actually speechless. You know, I was like, I can't believe that. You know, like I said, I'd be danged if I didn't see it.
Yeah. Now, when you caught up with your troop, you told your fellow soldiers, your superiors. Did you tell anyone what you saw, or did you keep quiet?
Well, I asked a couple guys if they ever seen a hog with a long tail like that, and they're also hunters themselves. They said they ain't never seen nothing like that, but I was probably taking medication or something.
All right. Well, very cool. Brandon, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. We're going to hear more from others that have seen strange stuff all over the place. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And if Matt digs up what he found, we'll send it your way.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. Very good. Okay. Andrew Lake, a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago now, you reported in the news about a strange creature that has since taken on a life of its own. Tell us what happened, Andrew.
Yeah, if our viewers remember when the mothership was down in Gettysburg, Mark Nesbitt was our guest, I had reported in the news that some people in northern Utah had gotten in touch with the Parks and Recreation Department to tell them that there was a guy dressed up in what looked to be either some kind of white costume that sort of resembled the mountain goats that live up on the side of the mountain. And people were reporting this strange guy. Now, they weren't reporting a monster or a cryptid. They were just reporting a guy behaving strangely. And eventually they did get notified when this showed up in the news. This guy from California said, I am a goat hunter, a wild goat hunter, and I heard that in northern Utah, the goats are a little bit more cooperative and can be snuck up on a little bit easier. So he made himself a hunting suit that would sort of mimic a goat. It was a white painter suit with a built-in hood, and he put like a sheep fleece around his shoulder to give himself more of an animal appearance while he snuck up on these goats. Well, apparently this story wasn't really paid attention to by somebody somewhere, and it's turned into sheep squatch.
Sheep squatch.
Yeah, which it's not even the same animal that he was trying to impersonate. And at no point was anybody fooled. Did anybody think there was something paranormal or involved with cryptozoology? It was just a guy, and it's kind of like Matt, like, you know, we've talked about
like me.
What, no, but we've talked about kind of like when we've talked about with the crop circles. You know, somebody makes a brief mention about, whoa, there's a couple of guys making circles in the
with boards and rope,
and that just sticks in people's heads. So I'm worried that people are going to come up with a new cryptid and go, what about sheep squatch? I think I saw him in Texas.
It's so funny. I got a phone call like a week ago, and someone was saying, asking my opinion about different cryptids, and one was sheep squatch. And I said, the first thing I said was, I've never heard of that. I don't know anything about it. And then we started talking, and suddenly it was just like, it was like hitting a wall, with your car or something. I went, whoa, wait. A few minutes ago, you asked about sheep squatch. That's not that guy in Utah. And they said, yeah. Andrew, you reported on this in July, late July of 2012. And in the span of about 6 weeks now, it's gone from some crazy guy, which you reported, human. No one ever said that this was anything other than a human in a costume. It's gone from a crazy guy in Utah to sheep squatch, a legend born already and now being passed around. And I got a phone call from someone, a TV producer, asking my opinion of sheep squatch, to which I said, it's a guy in a painter's suit. If you watch 30-odd Minutes News, you'd know. Andrew, please, isn't it true? People should only get their news from our show and no one else.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. I wouldn't trust any of the news networks other than 30-odd minutes.
No, I mean, that makes total sense. If you get your news from us, you'll be fine. That's the moral of the story. Speaking of which, let's check out this week's news.
A Welsh couple may have captured the image of a very old English ghost. The photograph was taken recently by a man named Jason Smith while visiting Glastonbury, England, with his girlfriend Nicola Davies. The couple were celebrating Nicola's birthday by staying at the 15th century Georgian Pilgrim Inn, a location with a haunted reputation. Even though the couple slept in the inn's haunted room number 1, they didn't experience anything unusual until they decided to take a few pictures of themselves standing before a mirror. Smith said he had taken a few shots in front of the mirror, but only one of the pictures showed a strange, blurry shape right in back of them. The old inn is said to contain a few ghosts, including the restless spirit of a monk and his lover, and the infamous Judge Jeffreys, who sent some 300 people to the gallows in 1685. Whether they're alive or dead, some people just have to get into the picture. In other news, at the start of September 2012, a team of researchers set out to explore a mountain lake in Sweden to see if they could finally solve the mystery of the ghost rockets. Since 1946, large numbers of eyewitnesses have reported seeing mysterious rocket-shaped craft in the skies over Sweden and making crash landings in the lakes throughout the country. The chairman for UFO Sweden, Claes Svahn, put a team of divers and cameramen together to investigate the bottom of the lake, where 2 witnesses say they saw a large object land and sink into the waters back in 1980. Bo and Liz Berg said that they saw a strange rocket make a 180-degree turn over the lake and then land on the water before slowly sinking out of sight. The investigation team didn't find their ghost rocket, but they did learn that the lake is very deep, and it also has a thick layer of mud along its bottom. The team are hoping to go back soon with more people and better equipment in order to find whatever might be hidden there. Sounds like something from the old sci-fi series Commando Cody and the Rocket Men from the Moon. I'm Andrew Lake, and oddly enough, that's the news.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Hopefully none of these turn into legends 6 weeks from now. But you heard it here first on 30-odd minutes. Okay, some of us have had our own cryptid encounters. Matt, what happened with your mom? Tell us the story.
My mother was 9 months pregnant with me in April of '67. Now that people know how old I am. And she was coming back to my father's house to pick him up so they could go back home. And as she was traveling down the road in Fairhaven, a creature that was taller than a human in reddish hair jumped out in front of the car. And she slammed on the brakes and almost hit it. And the creature, as it jumped off the road, grabbed a tree, spun around, and stared right back at her. She looked at it, it looked back at her, and she said it definitely was not a human. It was not an ape like an orangutan or anything, but it stood on 2 feet. It had brown eyes and what she called a Bob Hope nose. And they stood there looking at each other from 20 feet apart for about a full 30 seconds before it turned around and just trotted off into the woods, at which point she put it, the hammer down and drove to my father's house rather rapidly and expressed about what she had saw.
Wow. So you're claiming this sighting is your own because you were in utero?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll give you that one. Okay. Earlier today, we asked on Twitter, here's the magic question. We asked, what's your favorite cryptid and why? And you answered. Thank you, tweeter people. You said, Jake Stock said, of course it's the Loveland Frogman who doesn't like a man-sized toad with a magic wand. Hey-oh, I get it. And then Catmere Stone said, Wookiees. I mean ape-like hominids because I've seen 2 in Central Florida. After that experience, I will never mock sightings. Thank you very much. Anne-Marie, my favorite is the Loch Ness Monster, of course. The biologist in me would love to have another extinct animal be found alive. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Thanks for one serious one. The Ogopogo, hands down. I'm real and I'm spectacular. Also from a comic strip, I think. Way to get a shameless plug in. And then Christopher Jacobson, Octomom. That thing is beyond creepy. That's so true. Thank you very much. Thanks for following us on Twitter. Thanks for answering our questions when we ask each week. You guys are amazing. Okay, when we talk about cryptids, I think Bigfoot is the big chihuahua, the ones that we're always talking about, the ones we think of. And some people have not only seen this creature or experienced it, but actually filmed it. Our next guest tonight, please welcome, coming to us live from North Carolina, Michael Green of bushloper.net. Michael, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Okay, take us back, if you would, all the way to North Carolina, the Uwharrie National Forest. What were you doing there, and what did you see?
I'd driven down from New Jersey, so I'd been driving for 12 hours. I went to the campground, which was empty, camped, and immediately went to sleep because I was really tired. 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to a strange plopping noise. I don't know what that was. I was lying in my sleeping bag. A couple of seconds later, right over my tent, there were 2 big Darth Vader breaths. It's the only way I can describe it.
Right.
Followed by something whacking the top of my tent, sort of cupping it with its hand. I whacked back because I didn't know what else to do, and it ran off. I went outside with my thermal imager, didn't see anything. 2 nights later, also at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was sitting at the picnic table there with 5 other people, bored to tears. Every so often I'd stand up and scan around with the thermal. And the last time I did it, I saw it about 80, 90 feet away, walking sideways to me down in the woods, clear as a bell. Unfortunately, I didn't have my digital video recorder on that night. I'll never forgive myself. However, I started going to that spot repeatedly, and a year later, I was able to catch what's called the squeaky thermal, which I think you've got a copy of.
We do, and we will. Let's play that video, Eric, in the back, if you wouldn't mind. We'll play the video. Talk us through. What are we seeing?
All right. Right now, you're looking down the slope. You're seeing a Sasquatch very carefully. There's a slope away from us, and he is approaching a stump, which is basically that dark spot in the middle of the screen.
Right.
There at the bottom of that tree trunk. On that stump is a Zagnut candy bar. He's extremely cautious. I'm not there. I've set the thermal up and left and driven about 300 yards away and waited for a couple of hours. He sneaks up, grabs the candy bar, and then goes back down the slope and retreats off to the screen on your right. He's moving very slowly here.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Right here, this part of it, I describe, it looks more like a jelly donut than anything else. You can't really tell what it is.
So you had actually left stuff out as kind of bait, right?
Yeah, I'd left a candy bar on the stump, which is actually right now is directly in front of the white moving blob.
Yep.
See him as he gets up close, you'll see an arm reach up and grab the candy bar, and then he retreats off screen. Now, okay, you've cut it.
Yeah, we cut a little in the middle, just for space.
That's good, because this is better. Now he's come back about a minute later, and he's standing up. He gets up behind the trees there. He's about 7.5, 8 feet tall, as I measured later. As he stands up, you can get a much better look at him, and he'll start to sway from side to side. That's right. This is familiar, they tell me, familiar Sasquatch behavior.
Okay.
See his arm there for a minute. Then he backs off and goes down off the screen. And that's it in a nutshell.
Amazing. Now, what did you think when you saw this? When you came back and you could review this tape? I mean, this is pretty compelling.
Well, I couldn't review it. The batteries were dead, and I couldn't review it till the next morning.
Okay.
And to say I was excited I was beside myself with excitement. And finally, I've been doing this for about 18 years at this point, with no luck whatsoever. And now I finally had something.
Now, were you completely alone in the forest that night? Was anyone else with you?
Yes. No. Whenever I go to the UR, I always go there by myself to the campground when there's nobody else around, because I don't want anybody else fooling with me or messing with my equipment.
Sure. Now, when you go to Michael's website, you can go check this out at bushloper.net. You see other videos where he set the camera up in the exact same place, set up a stick to measure, roughly how high it would be and things like that. So you're able to kind of recreate, and you yourself walk the same path to show the difference in size and things like that, which is kind of what you have to do.
I'm 6'5".
Oh, okay.
So you get you know, you get an idea that this thing's a good bit bigger than me.
Right, right. And that's the thing, you know, I think a lot of us that have been doing this kind of work, we get sent photos and we get sent video clips, and sometimes you're like, wow, that looks like a house cat, but huge. And you realize it's just a matter of perspective of the camera. So you have to run through these experiments. You know, just seeing a weird video is not enough. Let me ask our guy, Matt Moniz. Matt, what did you think when you saw that video?
Very compelling. What got me is the swaying back and forth. That is a common or standard primate behavior. And the reason why they do that is that they're alternating between hearing and sight. They're trying to gauge distance and things that they're listening to and trying to pick up. So that to me indicates that what you're looking at is something that actually is legitimately doing something that it should if it is a primate.
Right. Now, what kind of feedback have you gotten, Michael, since you put this video out a couple years ago? You know, I know you were involved with the BFRO, correct? The Bigfoot Research Organization.
Right.
You know, what kind of feedback have you gotten from people? What are the pros and the cons?
They've mainly been pros. I went to Bob Gimlin of the Gimlin-Patterson Films birthday party, and I was the guest speaker there, and I showed the clip there, and I got 250 enthusiastic Bigfooters cheering for me. So that was
Wait a minute, 250 Sasquatches were at his birthday party?
No, Sasquatchers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. That would have been an amazing party.
Yeah, it was an amazing party.
Oh, good.
It was an amazing party. And then I was on the Finding Bigfoot show,
right,
which frankly is just plain silly. This reality TV stuff is nonsense.
Right.
And what more can I say about that?
No, understood. But you know what? Those shows like that do get the word out, and the hope, of course, is that people do more research and actually get out there and learn something. And if it's a starting point, then hey, that's wonderful, right? Now, what happens when you put yourself out there as saying, like, hey, this is an authentic Sasquatch video? I mean, that attacks some people's sensibilities. There are people that can't believe in Bigfoot. Their minds won't let them. Their upbringing won't let them. What's that like when someone tells you you're wrong?
I've given up trying to convince the naysayers. I'm not going to convince them, and sooner or later it's going to come out, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. I just got back from California, where I've been interviewing a guy named Justin Smedja, who claims to have shot two in the up in the Sierras 2 years ago, and has the DNA to prove it. There's a DNA study being conducted down in Texas right now, which is about to be published. She's waiting for peer review. And frankly, the whole Bigfoot question is about to be laid to rest scientifically. And I'm very happy for it.
Well, wouldn't that be something? Now, have you been back to the Wari National Forest since?
Oh, yeah. I go there about once a week, ever since.
Any sightings since?
And with no luck whatsoever. No luck whatsoever. It's not a very gratifying hobby.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. It's if you were a fisherman, you probably would have given up by now, right?
I certainly would have. And if I'd known it was going to take me this long, I would have given up about 19 years ago.
Now, Zagnut Candy Bar, why Zagnut? Is that your personal favorite, or were you just, that was all that was there?
Well, that is my personal favorite. Usually I leave out peanut butter or toys or cookies or something, and I've forgotten the peanut butter, but I had a Zagnut Candy Bar that I bought for myself, so I took one for the team and sacrificed the candy bar for the good of science.
Very nice. Very good stuff. Michael Green, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your video with everyone and letting us see your work. We really appreciate it. We'll, of course, have links to Michael's site from ours, and just a great topic. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a good night.
Andrew, Matt, closing thoughts. We have seconds left. Where's our next cryptid going to come from? The sea, the air, the forest?
All I'm thinking is, gee, at 6'5", maybe that guy, he's scaring Bigfoot out of the forest. Squatch is probably thinking, well, see the size of that guy?
All right, very good. We need shorter researchers. Okay, folks, until next time, stay on.
Yeah.